Welcome into DC On Screen, episode 338. This is the DCEU news episode. That means film, y'all. I'm David C. Robertson, your host. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello.
And you know what? This week we saw Logan.
We did.
I know it's not DC related, really.
Who cares?
But if you stick around to the very end of the show, after we say goodbye, I think we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about our thoughts on the film. We're going to get spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen it, don't listen to after the music runs and everything at the end of this episode.
Right.
Because I think we're going to talk about it for just a few minutes.
Just a second. We'll dive in briefly.
But, you know what? Breaking news as we prepared for the show tonight. Adam Chitwood over at Collider wrote this report that says that sources, whatever the hell that means, sources tell them that Matthew Vaughn is apparently the top choice for Warner Brothers in directing Man of Steel 2. If you don't know who Matthew Vaughn is,
that name, but I'm going to need you to, you to jog me.
Yeah. If you don't know Matthew Vaughn, he did Kingsman: The Secret Service, which I heard phenomenal things about.
I did hear. It's on my list of, like, when I get a chance kind of things.
Mark Hamill's in it, so I kind of want to see it.
Yeah.
Also, he did X-Men First Class.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. And he did Kick-Ass, which was, I thought,
freaking
phenomenal.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Kick-Ass 2 had something to be desired, I felt like. But Kick-Ass 1 was just really great.
Yeah. Now, back in 2010, it was reported, though, that he and Mark Millar, who wrote Kick-Ass, pitched a Superman movie to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers chose the Goyer and Nolan take. But Matthew Vaughn had this to say about it. He said, I think that's the one thing not to do with Superman, trying to do the serious Dark Knight version. Superman is about color and fun, or it should be for me. So there's a taste for what you could probably expect if Matthew Vaughn actually does take over the reins. Like, this is just a rumor, you know?
It's a rumor, so, but it should be an encouraging rumor for a lot of people. I mean, the guys can do big budget, fine, obviously. These were all perceived as pretty good action films, no matter how he did it. And, you know, you like him talking about the red and the blue as like a hopeful character, like something that should be a little fun.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I hope people are encouraged by that.
I mean, I'm encouraged by it. I hope it's true.
I do.
I like Matthew Vaughn.
I like this call.
Yeah. I like a lot more than George Miller.
Yeah.
I don't need Kal-El Fury Road.
No.
Instead of a desert, it's like an icy tundra.
No, if they ever do a prequel movie about Jor-El, where it's like the last year of Krypton or something, all right, fine. Bring in George Miller for that.
No, I don't even want that. Like, I don't want that movie. I think the day that movie gets created is the day I quit this show. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Sci-fi is already messing with it. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, which is probably not true, guys. Don't worry. But I've weathered worse things.
Oh yeah.
And I don't hate George Miller. I'm just, I know he's done other things other than Tundra.
Yeah. No, I'm not a
funny.
Huge fan though. I mean, that didn't. I wasn't excited about it anytime he's been brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much shit for that.
I mean, you never have before.
I always think there's just going to be a backlash of people going, "Screw you, Mad Max."
Right. Yeah. You know what? Our fans are pretty awesome because, like, occasionally I'll get stuff on Twitter. People will just be like, "I disagree with Jason," and I'll be like, "All right, cool." They're like, "Keep up the good work." I'm like, "Thanks."
This is why I limit my social media platform interactiveness to really just Facebook. I don't even know how the other ones function.
Yeah.
There are less people that can disagree with me.
Right. But it's always something organic. Like, like they'll tag us in a thing and be like, even though I don't like what you said about this, Dave, I look forward to your thoughts. I'm like, thanks.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, our fans are classy. They got class.
I mean, who are we to judge class? But apparently,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't understand how we got such classy fans.
I mean, we're terrible. But good
we're
for you guys.
We're over here like, Guggenheim's a liar.
Yeah. That's why you guys are here, to help us be better people.
So the big news this week, Wonder Woman, the final Wonder Woman trailer dropped. Ironically, it's the origin trailer.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts before I jump into my thoughts here?
I mean, just overall, hell yes.
Right?
The thing looks great. I like the backstory, and we'd already talked about some of this, and it was kind of a spoilery cast we had last week.
Yeah.
That part of her origin was going to be like she's going to be trained harder than anybody before. So we weren't too far ahead of this. If you even just missed like a news episode, you can come back and like, oh, we're fine, never spoiled.
Yeah.
But it looks great. I mean, the film just visually looks fantastic. So far, I like the tone. It looks like there's a fair amount of joke in there.
It does.
And it looks like some of the power moments, the real like when she actually hits the bracelets together, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like some of those are just going to be like drop your jaw, clap kind of moments in the theater for me.
Well, the interesting thing about the bracelets is it looks like they might actually be like there's a lot of conjecture going on online about, okay, well, she's going to, and even in the trailer, they say like she can never know what she truly is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you mean the spawn of Zeus? Because it seems like she's got like electric powers. Like when she's fighting, Antiope,
mm-hmm.
and before Antiope even hits her, like those bracelets are glowing, right?
Yeah.
Later on, it looks like she's like absorbing or summoning some sort of energy. So if she's got some sort of like the electric force field stuff going on,
yeah,
that is a slight departure. Like they've kind of messed around with that recently, very recently in the comics. But I mean, at the onset in the comics, I mean, she was just an Amazon,
yeah,
and then sometime in the 90s, after she died, she came back. They made her a goddess, and she could fly. She didn't need her invisible jet anymore. And now it looks like they're just kind of going the demigod route, which is it's fine. I'm fine.
I kind of like that. I like it being middle ground demigod.
Now, in the trailer though, here's like when you have Hippolyta riding on a horse with a very young child Diana, and they're riding past like through this like Greek Roman architecture, but there are all these like carvings on the walls of like different scenes from Amazonian history,
mm-hmm.
and as she's telling Diana like a little bit about the history and stuff, and it seemed very much to me like Jor-El telling Clark in that spaceship in Man of Steel as like the pictures on the walls moved.
Yeah.
It felt like that to me.
Like I wondered if they were literally going to have another pictures on the walls move kind of scene. I kind of like that it's going to be more like we're going to take a horseback ride through some hieroglyphs.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're actually going to really do that as much, but I saw
it would be more fitting. I think.
I really love the way Diana looked at the God Killer sword as she's a kid.
Yeah.
Someone on Facebook had a picture of young Bruce screaming at his parents getting killed,
mm-hmm.
and right next to a picture of young Clark cowering in the janitor's closet in Man of Steel, and then the third picture is young Diana smiling from that shot, staring at the sword
that shouldn't be wielded and all that, and her just kind of like smirking at it like, oh yeah, bitch, I'm gonna wield you someday.
Yeah, and I don't know.
I am gonna be the owner of that sword.
The person who posted the picture didn't say it, but I kind of felt like this was whoever made it was going like, yeah, so she's a bigger badass than either of them.
It so far it may be true too. Like from what we know about these characters, she probably has a bigger badass card than the other two right now.
Mm-hmm. For now. You know me, I'm a Batman guy.
Sure. And I love my Superman, but they got to give me the real version before I'm.
Right. I think we got snippets of the real version, but I won't get into that.
Yeah.
I love Never Let Your Guard Down. You expect the battle to be fair. I think it speaks to her character, the character that we should expect to see with Diana. I really enjoyed that line. I love that Diana thinks London is hideous. I mean, and absolutely you would think that. Absolutely,
what does he say? It's an acquired taste or something.
Yeah, I think he just goes, yeah, it's not for everybody.
No, yeah.
But I think that's what it was. But yeah, of course you would think London is hideous. I mean, oh my gosh, the mascara is brilliantly beautiful.
And this is like the height of industrialization era London. It looked like it's just a giant smog fest. Like,
now me,
there's actually,
personally,
if I remember correctly, there's actually a thing that was documented where there's a certain kind of white moth that never stood a chance. Like it went extinct almost during the like industrialization era. Because you could see it against the background of all the smog. Birds had a field day. Took him out, man. Never had a chance.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I kind of felt like if I were dying and I had like a couple of months to live, I would probably want to go hang out on Themyscira as presented in this trailer.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
If someone handed me a chunk of money to go write something, I'd probably go to London. It's overcast, smoggy, dark, dank.
I don't know. We have Seattle. I mean,
we do have Seattle, but I would never get over the idea of the idea that Fraser Crane and Niles were hanging out somewhere drinking coffee.
Yeah, there is a lot of coffee in Seattle too. So you also. Like, if you're the kind of person who can block out distractions, New York would be perfect. You don't even care what the weather is because there's so much going on. Unless it's actively raining on you, you just don't care.
Yeah. If I lived in Seattle, I think all I would ever hear as I walk the streets would be like the little like opening Frasier thing, like.
Just every time you saw the needle.
Yeah, and I'd be at home doing something, and I'd be like, hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling, toss salads and scrambled eggs.
No, for me, it'd be a combination of that and, like, walking around. I would just have, like, constantly, it'd be like, Foxy Lady, just swimming right into, like, black hole sun, won't you come?
Yeah.
And there's some Nirvana in there, sure, every now and then, but, like, those were two artists that I liked more, so.
I hear you.
Just looking around every corner for Chris. Where are you, Cornell? You still here? I can hear you.
So, Diana throws a tank in this trailer, man. I saw it. Like, all the action sequences look awesome.
That happened. Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with the choreography. I think no one's going to walk away from this and think, that was a bad action film. Mm-hmm. That was shot poorly. Mm-hmm. That is not a sentence that's going to be offered after this.
Yeah.
No matter what the rest of your review says, it's going to be like, well, the action was competent and it was shot well, even if you're trying to like completely take a shit on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you've been a long time listener of this show, you know what my one big issue with this movie so far in the trailers has been, and it continues to be. Etta Candy being used as the humor stinger. I don't mind that so much. I just don't think she's particularly funny. It's like, especially not the way they're using it in the trailers. It's just like, all this cool stuff and poignant stuff, and then it's like, oh, no, I mean, that sword does not go with that outfit. No. It's like, oh, I don't care. And this is a guy, like, look, I'm a guy that likes Lucy Davis. I actually like Lucy Davis. Shaun of the Dead, Studio 60 from the Sunset Strip.
Oh,
I mean, didn't expect me to pull that one out. You did, but
I knew.
Probably didn't.
I knew. Obviously, The Office.
Yeah, The Office. Marin. She was great in Marin as his agent,
Oh, gotta go back and do that.
Yeah, you need to do that. It's only 4 seasons. But yeah, it's all on Netflix right now.
Boomer
but she's good. Boomer does live. And
it's the
she's good.
One quote I know from Marin, sorry.
I was excited when she was cast as Etta Candy. Not particularly digging it so far. I think it's just a little too much. Like they're trying a little too hard to inject some humor in to these trailers to make everyone go, oh, okay, maybe it's going to be funny. And, maybe people are liking this. Maybe people are enjoying this. I don't know. I don't know what people like. I just don't necessarily.
No, it's all
so far.
It's all crapshoots. But I do think it's important to do what they have done, which is inject the humor. We needed that. Just as a nation, we needed to know that this movie was going to stop every now and then and make a joke. Had to happen.
10 cc's of humor. Stat.
It had to have that. It just did. We're at that point.
I agree.
And, I don't mind it being a couple of throwaway lines from Etta Candy. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chris Pine's been pretty funny in the trailer shots we've gotten from him. And Wonder Woman has to be your straight guy. I mean, She can't be the one telling jokes. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love it if she got in a one-liner here and there. But, like, you're mostly going to have the people around her be the truly funny people. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely fine. I just
Well, as
don't
far as
think
humor-
I don't think they've blown their load at all. I think
Yeah.
they've thrown in like a couple of good one-liners here and there to make sure that we knew that there was something going on. If anything, if there's anything that worries me about Etta Candy in this film, it's that, and it almost doesn't worry me too much. It's that she is going to be marginalized to a supporting character that's there for a couple of good laughs and maybe a good scene, but she's not going to have like it doesn't seem like she's going to have a story arc for herself, and that's fine.
I don't care that she has a story arc for herself. What I do want out of Etta Candy, because she says it in one of the trailers,
Fisticuffs?
there's a joke. Yeah, the fisticuffs. In the comics, she was a brawler.
She was a fisticuffer. And I think you might get that moment where she finally punches somebody. I firmly believe even that you're going to get that moment where she actually like hauls off on somebody a couple times.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get that reward. It's just my bet. Just my $1 on one side of the table here. But on the other hand, you're going to get Lucy Davis being really funny. And I don't think we've seen all of her punchlines by a long shot.
Well, no. And I think it's part of it is the way that they're cutting the one-liners together in the trailers that I don't care for. I mean, the fact that she was having trouble getting through that revolving door with the sword, Wonder Woman was having trouble with that, was funny in of itself. We didn't really need suddenly Lucy Davis saying like, "Oh, the sword does not go with your outfit," blah blah blah, whatever.
No, that works for me.
It was okay, but it was clearly cut. Like there was something in between, and
Yeah, you're probably right about the cut, but it's still,
it just seemed off to me.
When we've gone to Lucy Davis, she's been funny, and that's fine. And I think there's going to be a lot more Lucy Davis being funny in the film. I don't even think we've maybe seen her best punchlines. It's entirely possible that she's got some. I would be kind of surprised if this is like her best material in the film.
I think my source of humor from this film is going to come from Chris Pine.
I think he's got a lot more to offer too. But him, they are going to have an arc with him. You can tell they're going to have an arc with him. Like he's going to go through a whole thing where he's going to have a dramatic, like love interest based thing with Diana and all that, and it's going to be very action movie with him for a minute, and it's going to be very CW almost for a second here and there. God forbid. But you know what I'm saying. He's going to have a range that as his character connects to Diana, and part of it along the way he's gonna have some really funny lines.
Yeah, sure. I enjoyed this trailer a lot. I liked it. I've watched it probably 10 times. I even went and showed it to my mom. My mom was the person who brought me to the first Batman movie back in '89. She got me into Batman. Yeah, she loves Batman. Thinks Superman's a pansy. But
I'll have a talk with her about that one day.
I can't get her to watch the Man of Steel. I bought it for her. I'm like, look now. I mean, you're gonna need to watch Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad and blah blah blah. But she's watching this Wonder Woman. She's like, I don't want to see Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's lame. I don't want to see that. She watched the trailer. She was like, oh my god, I got chills. I'm like, I know. And she's like, and what do I have to watch again? And I'm like, you gotta watch Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. You gotta watch Suicide Squad. She's like, I don't want to watch Superman. But I mean, she's used to the Christopher Reeve, and she just never cared for it. She never dug it. He's a Boy Scout. She was always more of a Batman person. So, but she dug this trailer, and
we knew the trailer was coming out, and this is the last thing I'll say, I guess. We knew the trailer was coming out. Christian and I were watching a movie. I randomly picked up my phone because ADD guarantees that you can't do any one task for the length of a movie. So I randomly pick up my phone for like the 4th time and check it, and finally it's here. The Wonder Woman origin trailer is finally here. And like ran over and paused the movie, and my wife's giving me the the what the fuck look. I'm like, just hold on. And like laid down on the floor in the couch in front of where she was. I was like, we have to watch this now. And kind of got done. It was like, so am I gonna have to fight you on this one? Nope. Cool. So you're down? Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was checking every 5 minutes myself because the day before, Patty Jenkins and she came out and said, "Hey, tomorrow is the day we're doing the thing."
She put out this awesome, like they were all pimping it. It was gonna happen. It happened late though. It felt like
it did.
I thought I was gonna wake up. I literally when I woke up, what was it, Saturday?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, when I woke up that morning, that's the first thing I checked for.
Yeah, and you know what? It was.
I expected it to have dropped at like 3 a.m. or something. 6 a.m.
Absolutely, I didn't. But, yeah, I mean, they're like, oh, it's going to be tomorrow. And I'm checking. And it's like, when did they post it? 23 hours. Bastards are going to wait 24 hours. I know they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And they pretty much did.
I'm over there on Google, search tools, date,
Right.
24 hours. I don't
I was on the
don't
road.
even care. If it didn't happen today, I don't even care, Google. Don't tell me about it.
Yeah, I was on the road and I was just like basically reloading pages and stuff and seeing what was happening. And then I saw it was up and I pulled over the side of the road and just watched it like 3 times. Like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
All that to say, I was not disappointed. And God, I keep hoping this is the film that we can all believe in.
I hope it is. I get the feeling it's not, but I hope it is.
Oh.
I mostly get the feeling that it's not because there are several people, and everyone's like, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are saying, yeah, don't toe the conspiracy line. And I'm not even sure it's a conspiracy. I just think there's a lot of hatred out there for the DC stuff. I just do. Like,
there is, and I think some of it is probably born of possibly like corporate machinations. There's parts of it that seem like they might actually be active sabotage in certain ways, and part of it's just they haven't had their moment yet. That we like the DCEU. I've said this so many times. Has not had the moment yet where we got behind one character and went, okay, all right,
well,
I'll roll with this.
The thing is, though, is like with Marvel, and I know you're thinking like, oh, who else is there? There's others. There are others.
Yeah, there are others.
But like with Marvel, right out of the gate, they hit it with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to see that Robert Downey Jr. was back.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Robert Downey Jr., but they don't trust him because of the drugs in the past. And it looks like he knocks it out of the park. Everyone was like, what do you mean you're going to have him for Tony Stark? And then the first trailer drops and you're like, oh gosh.
Absolutely. No,
And
and
then,
also there was
like,
the feel-good story a little bit with him where like he has had that backstory and he did clean up.
Yes.
And not only did he clean up, he kind of bulked up even to do this role. Like he was a healthy human being for the first time in a long time, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a cool story to cover. Like we were all kind of rooting for him, and then the film was good.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And there was the moment where the majority of America got behind it and went, yes, this is the thing I want to follow.
Yeah, and everyone at first were like Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau. They're going to make a comedy. It's going to be goofy. It's going to be stupid.
When am I going to see Vince Vaughn?
It was funny. It was, yeah. And I kind of wish we had. Like, he would have been a great Obadiah Stane, right?
I think he would have been a fantastic Obadiah Stane.
Not that I don't love Jeff Bridges. But you know what? They should have just had Vince Vaughn there as like a secondary guy for Favreau's character, and then just had him getting fired at some point and just being like, no, this is horseshit, Stark. This is horseshit.
Actually, I mean, I like where you're going with that, and this is completely beside the point. So let's just I'm going to say one thing and we should move on. Just thinking about it, I would rather have had him be the villain in Ant-Man.
Ooh, that would have been fun.
I didn't think that guy did anything wrong, except now that I'm thinking about it, Vince Vaughn would have been better.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry, dude.
Well, there's a fair amount of roles. If you look at the if you look at the history of Vince Vaughn's career, you can like pick out certain things. Like, I think Vince Vaughn would be a phenomenal Joker. Why do I think that? Clay pigeons and domestic disturbance. Those are the reasons, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
But when you look at it in that through that prism of saying, like, they're rooting for this guy to come back, who's a phenomenal actor. We've all been waiting for him to make his big comeback.
It was a good story. We didn't think it was going to happen. Overall, it
was a good story, and you're rooting for him. When that's your first movie, you don't care that the next two suck, which they did. I'm not saying that from a personal standpoint because I kind of enjoyed Incredible Hulk, and I absolutely enjoyed Iron Man 2. But critically,
did not do well.
A lot of fans agree, they kind of sucked.
No, there was a lull. Like, there was a genuine lull between Iron Man and pretty much the Avengers, where it was like it was the shape of a swimming pool, man. I mean, Hulk had its problems. Iron Man 2 got mixed reviews at best. Like, the first Captain America and Thor
fine.
Were kind of there, and we were all happy to see them. But it felt like it all happened in context, and it felt like it was all leading up to something. And
I felt like we were happy to see them taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's about it. Like, they were okay.
And by the time by the time the last couple of these movies were coming out, you were already hearing about, like, no, seriously, we're getting the Avengers, Joss Whedon. And how do you not get excited about that? But
absolutely.
So there's been a different narrative over in the MCU that we haven't had here, where I was like, it's been this weird, bizarre world where, like, people are specifically not excited about Zack Snyder and the team up
I think
movie.
A part of that, I honestly think there's a couple of different parts to that. One, it's coming off of an extremely successful trilogy that Christopher Nolan did. Now, we're not a huge fan of that trilogy, but, The Dark Knight was actually so good. And we will outright say Dark Knight was amazing.
Great movie.
It may be the best Batman movie made still.
Still is, yeah.
Aside from Mask of the Phantasm, which if anyone argues with me on that, they can, go screw themselves. But
best live action Batman, though, I think
Dark Knight,
without any doubt.
Dark Knight was so good that it made people blind to how bad Dark Knight Rises actually was.
I think so sometimes, yeah.
And that trilogy became so beloved by a whole generation of people that now is the new DCEU that's not in that canon. Think about how many movie pilot articles we saw popping up before we even doing the show. Just you see this stuff like, oh, Christian Bale is going to be the secret Batman.
There was a ton of hope that they would just continue that like Man of Steel happened, and that they were going to do another one, and it would continue that trilogy. And
and there was even like people were saying Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to be Batman in the Justice League, the new universe.
Yeah. Then
there were people who were saying that like when they cast Ben Affleck, they were like, oh, Ben Affleck's secretly Deathstroke, and he's this. Jeremy Irons is Wintergreen, and
that
happened. What are you talking about? So I think people were so desperate for not a reboot.
But
and this is all coming off of you got to think about Nolan doing Batman Begins was the first time we actually saw like Batman from since Batman and Robin, and that was a huge misstep, a huge misfire.
No, I mean the back end of what I'll say is the Keaton run, like that series of movies that started with Keaton. The back end of that is just god awful, dumpster fire kind of stuff. And to see Batman Begins, it was a huge step in the right direction. Nolan gets a ton of credit for that, and then Dark Knight is an honest to God good film. Sure, we can sit here and do some stuff. Like we have a review where we pick it apart a little bit and have some fun. But it's an honest to God good film that's one of the few DVDs I've bothered going out to make sure I owned. I loved it.
It's so good that it actually hurts to watch it now because I know what comes next.
Yeah. And but it seemed like it just all went away with Dark Knight Rises, and I that's a little painful. But to Nolan's credit, he took the public perception of that character into a place where we can be here now. I'm not sure if you could have just hopped into Affleck's version of it after what we'd seen before. I'm not sure anyone would have cared. I'm not sure the networks would have picked it up. Like WB might have just said, I don't care.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like the Nolan universe did well enough, and it we get onto it for being a little too gritty and a little too weird, and we got into it for a lot of things. But it did actually set up the ability to take the universe seriously, and it got us into the DCEU. Nolan gets credit for that as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of his choices along the way, I would like to have words with him. But but he did accomplish the overall goal of like getting us to a serious Batman that we're going to spend money on. We're all going to we're all going to like really sit down and look at this person as Bruce Wayne / Batman, a person that I care about. This is not a cartoon.
Yeah. I know we've gone on a tangent now, but I think there is
somehow
hope.
From Wonder Woman. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's hope, which is important, obviously, in DCEU and Rebirth and all of that. That's what they're selling over and over again. But the narrative, even as far as the media is concerned, has been talking about how amazing Wonder Woman looks. How they've been talking about how it's going to change the tone of the DCEU. And, of course, they're using Wonder Woman as more of an excuse to crap on BVS. That's fine. If that's what you have to do, if that's what gets you off, if that what makes you
Yeah.
Willing to give Wonder Woman a chance. I guess I'll accept it begrudgingly.
Yeah, I don't even care. And saying that it changes the tone is there are two ways you could take that. You could say it changes the tone as though it were reactionary, or you could say it changes the tone as though we kind of had a plan to change the tone around the Wonder Woman Justice League area anyway. Like we were doing The Darkest Before the Dawn. That's the reason it's titled that way. And now we're going to do it this way. I honestly don't care how you approach that question, how you approach that thing. I just hope you're excited to see the movie.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this point. Anyway, so when they pimped out that the trailer was coming out the next day, they also released this gorgeous Wonder Woman poster of her like on one knee with a sword in the sand, you know?
Yeah, that was good.
Oh,
her one-shots have been fantastic.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So, Charles Roven, and I'm just, we're not talking about everything Charles said here. He was talking to comicbook.com. I am not going into everything he said because some of it is just obvious, like just strangely tangential. Like, well, the thing about Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman is, and he's like, yeah, we know.
I mean, it's on there if you just want to refresh your course.
Comicbook.com. If you don't know who Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are,
Charles Roven will explain it to you.
Kind of. Like, I was telling Jason, like, he, like, changes, like, tense in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried he's not all there, but...
Well, you get up to that point.
Yeah, he was talking about Wonder Woman being
like, we don't edit these things. Like, I'm happy when I make a cogent sentence. Every time. Every time I get right? from the capital letter to a period, I'm happy.
Oh, man.
As long as no one called for medical attention between those two things, I'm pretty happy with what happened.
Yeah, that's a fair hope.
Yeah, when
one goes into speaking, I hope an ambulance isn't called in the middle of the sentence.
Right. I just you go up to do a public speech of any kind, and you're like, I just don't want a straitjacket. Just at the end of this, I hope no one thinks I should be imprisoned.
Oh, no, I was thinking, I hope no one is so offended by my grammar that they, in fact, start having a coronary event, we'll say.
Don't want to literally cause harm with my inability to start and then finish a sentence.
I told a guy at work this week, we're talking about a coworker, and I was like, I swear, man, he's so dumb. It's like he's speaking in all lowercase. I can tell. There's no punctuation. It's a 3-paragraph run-on sentence.
Not a comma in the mix. Yeah. I do know the type on that one.
Right. So, yeah, Charles Roven was talking to comicbook.com, which is an impressive site because they get a lot of people to actually interview with directly.
Yeah, they do.
They're the source on a lot of great stuff, but they have so many ads, you would think no one would want anything to do with them.
I know. I think I've literally said fuck them before.
Yeah.
It's not their content. They have good content. It's just their
content's fine.
So damn hard to get to sometimes. You have to fight your way to the content.
You do.
I feel like I've accomplished something when I get in and out of there with good information. Like, ha ha ha, survived you again, comic book.
Mm-hmm. But he was talking to comicbook.com about Wonder Woman. He described the story with words such as fun, emotional, exciting, always a good thing. He also said it was relatable to children. It was relatable to adults of all ages. But he also iterated that this was a combination of canons, which is, one of the things that I pulled from the story that I thought was interesting. He says, for Wonder Woman, what was really intriguing to us was the mythology of her past and attempting to blend both the canon from the past with the New 52 and really come up with a compelling story for Diana and her hero's journey. He then went on to describe Batman and Superman's hero's journey and their origins. We don't need to get into that here.
Sure.
But I like the idea of combining the canons. I think is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean...
That way you kind of please everybody.
Especially bringing up New 52. It went on long enough that some people are attached to it, and it did take some chances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's starting to get a little retconned here in Rebirth. I mean, some of it's going to list, some of it's not, but it's still nice to like see another take on everything. That part is, I think, the part that everyone's going to walk away thinking, oh, that was neat.
Yeah. And what's cool is, you think about like, these young kids with their stupid crap,
Yeah.
We have a presence on Tumblr, a very small presence, I should say. But there's a presence on Tumblr. I haven't really given it a whole lot of time. I plan to.
I just learned about our presence on Tumblr.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of the people on there, a lot of the fans on there, they pretty much, they're teenagers. They only know New 52. Our generation, me specifically, not that we're that different age, we just have different experiences with the comics, I think. But me, I became really involved in DC Comics post-Crisis. So to me, Byrne's Man of Steel is mother's milk. You know what I mean? Like, the Golden Age and Silver Age, to me, in my head, like when I see that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that's weird shit that happened before 86. I cherish it in a way. I do, and I appreciate it, and I even I really love the stylized 50s and 60s style stuff. I mean, I'm an old school Doctor Who and Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love Silver Age. I love Golden Age. Golden Age is weird, but
Silver Age is strange.
Silver Age is super weird, like super, super weird, but it's like campy. It's like camp in a way that I really get behind and enjoy. Golden Age is just like all pulpy. Every hero has a gun.
Yeah.
Superman thumps people's brains out because he's that strong, but he can't fly. It's like weird shit. It's just weird. But, to a whole other generation, that's the stuff they grew up with. They were around for 78 Superman. They were around for George Reeves, which, by the way, I just got all of the George Reeves Superman on DVD.
Yeah.
The Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
They had a special going on Amazon, and I jumped on it.
That's
super happy about that.
Yep.
No pun intended, honestly, but just I used to watch that on Nick at Night. I love that old style, but I don't consider it I don't take it seriously somehow. Like I do
No, I was watching that 1:30 in the morning. I don't know how I didn't fall asleep in the 10-minute segments of him flying, but
right.
I was awake.
But anyway, every generation has their take on it and where their entry point, and I'm not trying to hate on that. I've enjoyed what I've read of New 52 and what I've read of Rebirth. Admittedly, it's not as much as I read of post-crisis era. Because at that point in my life, I bought every title.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You had the box
Charles,
you picked up and everything?
Do what?
You had the box you picked up and everything?
Oh, I had a box.
Yeah.
I pretty much, at one point in my life, and by one point I meant over a series of probably 10 years, I got everything from Marvel and DC pretty much. Both.
Mm-hmm. That is a lot of stuff.
It was cumbersome.
Yeah.
It didn't really start out that way. It was I want to get all the X-Men stuff, and I want to get all the Batman and Justice League stuff. And then that kind of went in, I guess I'll get the Superman stuff. I probably really need to... I mean, if they're going to do the crossover, I need to get Shadow Pack. Well, I mean... comic fans know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's how they get you. I mean, it is. It is a business.
I'm really interested in this Ragman guy. I really want to know
see what's going on with
Ragman. Wait, who is this Detective Chimp?
The hell's he doing here?
What chicanery is this? And, as you get in, you start, as Jeff Johns, because I got into comics, and then probably some 5 or 6 years later, Jeff Johns exploded on the scene. I remember when he started writing Flash, and he was doing Murmur, and I think that was Jeff Johns. And Wizard Magazine had an article on Jeff Johns every week about how amazing this guy is. So as I'm reading comics, Jeff Johns explodes onto the scene as I'm getting in, really getting into comics, because I'm a huge Batman fan. I have been since I was 6 years old, but I didn't get into the comics until a little later. I was a big fan of the Idiot Root series, And I had a few arcs, but I didn't have like anything definitive. And then I had like the Nightfall series, and I kind of read the big stuff, like Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. But actually getting into it, and then Jeff Johns kind of exploding, and suddenly the Silver Age was back, and I'm like watching them like change, like, oh, we can't have Kyle Reiner anymore. I'm like, no, I want Kyle Reiner. I love Kyle Reiner.
Why would you get rid of it? It was kind of fun.
Like, yeah, here's Barry Allen again. I'm like, I don't know Barry.
Cool. I mean, just
I came to love Barry. I absolutely did. But Wally was the Flash when I started reading.
You're old Ginger Wally.
Absolutely. So anyway, Charles Roven. Getting back to the news. Charles Roven was talking about. You know what? Jason was like, oh, I was telling Jason we had a short news week this week, and he's like, kind of expressed some concern, I guess. I am never concerned when we have a short news week. I know that we're going to get off on something. We can. If we, like, on busy news weeks, we in fact just, like, whip ourselves into shape a little bit.
Yeah. If there's, like, a ton going on, we seem to just kind of rifle through it. But if there's just not a lot going on, we just fuck around for a while.
Yeah.
I don't really regret any of that.
I don't either. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do enjoy it.
And that's what I listen to podcasts for a lot of times. Especially the ones like ours.
The fuck around time. That's
absolutely
where it's at, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of clickbait stuff going on about flashbacks and flashforwards in the DCEU films. And this was Charles Roven again, talking to comicbook.com. And he talks about Wonder Woman going back to the warring times and how it'll still tie up with the other films and whatnot. But here is his quote. And see if you can make any sense out of this, Jason, because I sure as hell didn't.
Let's see.
I made a little bit of sense out of it, honestly. I did. I guess I'll let you guys know. He says, for example, the Justice League movie will take place in a universe that's post-Batman v Superman. Just like Batman v Superman takes place in a universe that's post-Man of Steel. Well, sure.
So far, so good. Haven't lost me yet.
That makes sense. Yeah, you got that right, Charles. When we're dealing with either the Flash or Aquaman, since they will take place in a universe that has happened after Justice League, the characters in the world will be informed by the movies that preceded them, except that there's flashbacks or whatever within those particular movies, and flash forwards within those particular movies. I mean, I get all the flashback stuff because obviously, I mean, whatever preceded it is going to be referenced some way.
That can be cool as they're doing it. Two things. If you just say that you're going to have flashbacks in... All right, so we're going to have the Justice League movie, and then we're going to have Flash and Aquaman. I think before we have Justice League 2. Sorry, I'm wrong with that. But we're definitely going to see the characters introduced. They're going to definitely interact. They're going to have a whole thing that's happening. And then they're going to get their solo movies. All right, so doing a little bit of flashback stuff, which obviously, based on some of the stuff we've seen so far, we're going to get a little bit of flashback during the Justice League. But doing some flashback stuff, doing some origin story stuff, just a little bit during their movies, like, that's okay. It's okay. Like, you have it, but you can put it in the context of the movies that you've already seen, and kind of, you don't have to use too much of it. It's actually a nice way to approach it in a way where you can just kind of go back and pick up like a couple extra scenes that would be nice to have, that inform the movie you're trying to make, that hopefully specifically inform the movie you're trying to make, and not just generally inform the character, because we kind of all came to the movie with expectations of that character. So you should really come to it with, you should be trying to tell me about what I want to care about in this movie, and that's fine. All that makes sense until he uses the phrase flash forwards.
To me, the flash forwards means like the thing that I needed him to explain was the flash forwards. Instead, he explained the flashbacks, which I don't need explained. No. I'm like, well, sure.
All of that seems like a fine idea. I mean,
that just sounds like a continuity to me.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about flash forwards, meaning that we jump ahead, like BVS, right? We jump ahead. We see like Superman's in charge of the world, and there's an Omega symbol in the ground, and parademons are flying around, and Batman's being tricked by a green bulb. Cool. I mean, I know that movie got a lot of crap for that. A lot of people were mad about that. Said that it made the movie disjointed. That didn't make any sense. It made perfect sense to me, especially with Barry Allen popping through a portal and being like, dude, am I too soon? Whatever. That's perfectly fine to me. I'm totally down for that. I like that kind of stuff. I don't give a crap what the critics say. I'm a comic book fan. I know about the multiverse. I know about the future time travel. I know about all that crap. I know Barry was probably on a cosmic treadmill. I hope he was anyway. I'm fine if that's what they're talking about when they're talking about flash forwards. So, yeah.
No, that can work.
I'm
that can
absolutely fine
work.
with flashbacks. I'm absolutely fine with flashbacks, and here's why. Since the beginning of these stupid movies, all these, I don't mean stupid in a, snobby kind of way, like I hate comic book movies. I hate some of them. But what I mean is, like, they always kind of want to hit, like, oh, we're going to tell the origin story. We're going to tell the origin story. And I'm like, okay, well, cool, we get Batman again, but we're not going to get Robin. If we get Robin, it's going to be his origin story. But in the comics, I'm reading about Nightwing, who is infinitely more interesting than Dick Grayson's Robin.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to see Nightwing's adventures. And hey, looks like we're going to get it.
And you're going to get there,
That's one of the things that was exciting to me. They didn't go full Dark Knight Returns on it. They didn't say, like, Bruce is going to be 60 years old in BVS. No, they made it like 45, where he was, in my head, in the comics. So that means, like, in a solo Batman movie set in the present day, they could introduce him to his son Damian. Tim could be in the background, Jason could and is a part of the past. Dick is obviously a part of the past at this point.
Yeah.
I like the idea for where they are in the comics now. And, even with Rebirth, with New 52, with Rebirth, they didn't want to give that up. Even so much they screwed up the timeline and made it not make sense just so that they could have Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and Robin
they got
all
a
in the
lot of
same
flack
room
for
together. They got a lot of flack, but you know what? They weren't completely wrong. Because no one wanted any of the Batman universe to be rewritten. Like, we honestly didn't. It was the best thing about DC. And it just... it might still be. They've done it. They've taken some great strides with a lot of great characters. I don't ever want to, I wouldn't want to rewrite anything with Kyle Rayner. I just wouldn't.
No.
I like Kyle Rayner.
No, it's fine as it is. And I don't think there's anyone out there that's got a better idea about what to do with Bruce Wayne,
I've got some ideas for what to do with Bruce Wayne. But they all involve him being Batman.
No, I just like it, as far as an origin story goes, you got it. Don't improve on this. I mean, you can maybe add some accessories, but you're not going to redo this story. It is what it is.
I would be happy to. No, if I got a job writing for the actual canon, I wouldn't redo it.
Oh no, if I got an Elseworlds still? Oh fuck yeah, I'd play
if I got an Elseworlds, yeah, and Elseworlds would just be like well, hopefully not as bad as what if Stan Lee created the DC universe. But look, guys, I love Marvel, I love DC. I'm doing a DC show, right? Man, those books, what if Stan Lee created the Marvel universe? Here's the thing. And I want to be fair. They were awful and not at all what I expected. And it was at that moment that I knew for sure that, yeah, pretty much all of those other creators that Stan Lee robbed credit from were the ones who made those books what they were.
Oh, that's probably only half true.
I'm like, yep, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, yeah, you guys were screwed.
Yeah, they were probably pretty specifically screwed, yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So there's been a lot of clickbait going on about Warner Brothers being open to R-rated DCEU films because of the success of Logan. We were specifically tagged on Twitter and by an individual, and I'm not going to say his name. I don't know if he actually even listens. If you listen, let me know. You know who you are. But this guy always tags us with news. but it's always like really clickbaity news, and he's always like got some sort of like dig at DC, in his tweet, open to an R-rated movie or anxious to copy. And I'm like, probably both. Business is business. I mean, the idea is that, like, and I've seen a bunch of these where, like, oh, Fox is the trendsetter now. They're doing R-rated movies, Deadpool and Logan.
When did you think you'd ever hear that, for God's sake?
I figured it would happen eventually because the internet is full of idiots. Here's the thing, though.
No, and I don't know who this guy is, but, I'm open to a conversation about it. Like,
Yeah.
Especially in this context. All right, Fox kind of doesn't care about some of the same things that Disney cares about. And Disney runs Marvel right now. Like, Disney's got carte blanche on what happens. Whereas, like, WB is, I think they're trying to compete within a framework of wanting to be able to get 9-year-olds and 50-year-olds in the same movie.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to convince themselves that if we just committed to, like, 19-year-olds and 50-year-olds versus, like, some kids, we might be able to make a movie that's absolutely worth it.
Now, let me jump in real quick and actually tell you what the story is. Humberto Gonzalez of The Wrap says that a, quote, well-placed insider told him that with the right characters, WB would be willing to consider an R-rated comic book movie set in the DC universe. Now, I don't know who this quote-unquote well-placed insider is. I don't care. Charles Roven, who we've talked about before, has said, post-Deadpool, he said that future DC movies would likely remain PG-13. I don't see a problem with that. I think that's the smart move. It's not that, and we'll talk about this a little bit after the show too, but after the credits, after the end, but Deadpool and Wolverine.
Or Logan?
Yeah, Logan, sorry. Deadpool and Logan are very specific instances. Like, Fox is not the trendsetter here. They're not the first people to make comic book movies that were rated R. I mean, you got The Crow, you got the Blade trilogy, you got, I think Tank Girl was rated R. And, especially that last one, not all of them were well received. There's a lot of fuss out there about WB just copying Deadpool and Logan and, they're copying Fox. I don't think they are. If anything, they're saying like, okay, good. There's a precedent for a really hard-hitting R-rated movie.
No,
but
bottom line, period. It can make money. Everything else out from what you're thinking. Everybody copies each other. That's how it happens. Like,
everybody copies each other.
It's very rare that someone actually takes the time to take the next step.
And if you look at Logan, there's not a lot of special effects. It's not a common, like, look, we know that Deadpool was made on a low budget. Deadpool was made on a low budget. Logan was made on a low budget.
Yeah.
Look at Logan. You can tell it's made on a low budget. They're like, okay, we're going to make it R-rated, but it doesn't have to be like some special effects spectacular. No. It doesn't. And that's even if it wasn't rated R, that it does help. If they wanted to make it rated R, like, okay, sure, it wasn't made. We didn't spend $400 million on this movie. But, they're doing things it seems like they're doing things in a frugal fashion. But just because Fox made 2 films that actually treated the characters they had with respect and delivered satisfying portrayals of those characters with a solid storytelling and execution, guess how we're going to fall on the side of Logan after the show. But that's what made them a success. And yeah, I mean, people were like, when are they going to do an R-rated Logan? We never, honestly, as a Wolverine fan, I never thought I'd see an R-rated Wolverine. I always thought we should have an R-rated Wolverine where he's like, actually, like, I didn't think about him cursing. He curses a lot in the movie. That's weird. But the guts and the brains and the eyes and everything, that was awesome. Yeah. And that felt like Logan. That felt like Wolverine.
You thought, let's face it, like, growing up, we thought the most, I don't know, egregious thing we'd see was him just pulling up his middle claw as Cyclops.
Right. Now,
that was a huge, cool moment.
To be fair, there is a lot to be said for things that happen off screen, which is what we've seen in the X-Men movies so far. There's a lot to be said for what happens off screen because it lends to the imagination. If you need, any help trying to figure out what I'm talking about, go watch Batman the Animated Series. You'll see like a lot of like cuts to silhouettes fighting and stuff. Things happen off screen, like Batman will just close in on the guy who's like, "Oh no!" and then like he comes out and he's like, "I know where the thing is because I, probably broke this guy's clavicle, but I'm not going to say it on a cartoon."
Yeah, or Brave and the Bold, the alley scene in I forget the name of the episode now, but the alley scene where they finally show Bruce going in with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
They just show it. It's off screen.
Yeah,
it's just a couple of sound effects, and you never see anything.
Yeah.
But it is kind of powerful.
I think the most powerful thing...
Chill the Night. That's the one. Chill the Night.
Chill of the Night, yeah. Actually written by Paul Dini, who did the Batman Animated Series.
Yeah.
Batman Animated Series, the best depiction I've ever seen of a flashback of Batman's parents getting gunned down was Batman with his parents, and then they're walking down a long alleyway, and then the alleyway becomes a tunnel, and then the tunnel comes out of the ground, and it's a giant gun. It was like Batman on fear gas.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was like one of the most powerful things to me when I was a kid. I was just like, oh my God. But my point is, of course WB is open to an R-rated movie. Of course they are. I don't know who they would really need it for, except for maybe Lobo.
It looks like this Aquaman might demand it.
This Aquaman, I guess, might demand it. I don't know. But not really. And honestly, I don't think Logan demanded it. I really don't. Deadpool did. Logan, not so much.
No, Logan was. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Let's sidebar that.
My point though is, I don't think WB is copying. People use the term, they're copying so and so. Man, that's grade school terminology. This is business. They're seeing that it worked somewhere else, so they're more willing. Not even willing, just more willing to be open to it because it has worked somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you see that something works, you're more willing to try it out.
Absolutely.
If you've never heard of it before and it sounds cattywampus to you, you're like, no, I think we're going to go and stick with what's, right for the broader audience. It's just business.
The old thing about show me the same but different is it's still there. It's always going to be there.
If you're not willing to accept that mentality, that these things have to operate on a business structure, because people can't spend all this money and have no one show up. These things have to operate on a business structure. Until you guys, this never going to really stop, but all of you people who are like, oh, well, this is, they're copying, they're pieces of crap. Guess what? Thanos was a copy of Darkseid. All of these companies copy each other. And also, you're just kind of a brat who doesn't understand how the world works. And no one of any import is actually going to take you seriously. Moving on.
No, well, the weird part, they might be taken seriously because if there's enough of a backlash of like, oh, you copied this, Hollywood will react to it. But it goes back to your point. It is a business, and it's not like owning a company like MGM or WB. This isn't venture capitalism. It's a business.
Yeah.
You have so many statistics that dictate your next move. There's not a lot of like gut instinct to it. There's not a lot of it's really not art anymore. It's science, and a lot of the science betrays what we think of as legitimate art. What we think of as something that should continue. The science of ratings and demographics says, oh, fuck that shit.
Now, but here's where science saves us. Here's what business and science saves us. If someone goes like, oh, I don't want to make a Batman movie where Bruce Wayne is Batman. I want to create my own Batman character. Mm-hmm. Business is going to come in and go like, dude, they're not going to accept anyone but Bruce Wayne as Batman. No. Like, you remember, and we talked about this in previous episodes, DC Films That Never Happened. There was a Darren Aronofsky version, a Frank Miller Darren Aronofsky version of Batman Year One. It was got a movie that they were going to do. And instead of him going and traveling the world and learning how to fight crime and kick ass, he was a fry cook.
I do remember that.
Thank you, studio gods, for stopping
For
that
making that not happen.
That was absolute balderdash. I don't care that it was from Frank Miller. I don't care that it was Darren Aronofsky. I like both of those cats. That was stupid. That was outright, just plain on his face, ridiculous. Yeah. So,
some of these,
sometimes these things save us.
Some of these stories, you get saved by the statistics. That's kind of the fun point, though. Is like it's always, us fans and what we believe in, and like what means something to us versus the people that actually own the things that we care about.
Yeah,
it really is. It's always going to be a battle.
What sucks? What really sucks?
Sometimes they win. Sometimes we win. Sometimes it's an orgy, and sometimes we both just absolutely get fucked in an alley.
I've lost track of your analogy, sir.
It'll hold up. Just go back for it.
But, where it sucks is, I understand where the clickbait happens, where people are like, oh, they're just willing to copy, like, oh, an R-rated film, that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're like, oh, that's not necessarily what's going to happen. But WB hasn't given us a lot of faith in that regard. Batman Forever was a huge success. Batman Returns was not so much of a success. They got complaints because of how dark and gross and weird it was. So they're like, oh, yeah, okay, so Batman Forever was a big thing. What if they like humor? They want more of the gaudy villains and the humor. So then we get Batman and Robin. It up. And it's like, dude, okay, how about it's a Batman film, so let's not have the Penguin biting someone's nose and having blood spurt out.
Right.
How about not having the Penguin make ridiculously overt sexual references about parasols and pussies twitching their little tails? What the hell are you talking about?
That movie in some ways was like his audition for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Anyway, getting back on track, Zack Snyder put out a picture. Last week he put up the little 5-second video of Aquaman swimming up to what may be the Dead King or maybe Poseidon, whatever people are saying, whatever they want to believe until we see it. So he put up a picture of Jason Momoa on sort of a pulley system, an intricate pulley system, rig type of thing, and his hair was all pulled back, but it was all green screen behind him, and Zack Snyder said people were wondering whether he was CG or not. He's not. Everything surrounding him, including his hair, was, but he wasn't. It was neat. It was Chris Begley over at Batman News posted that, and that was cool. Now,
I would think you're gonna have to CGI the hair.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, we talked about it a couple weeks ago at least. How they were saying that, it was kind of impossible to really get all those underwater scenes for real.
Yeah. I also want to bet that they're going to have to CGI eyelids and, like, nose bubbles, I'll call them.
I hadn't considered that.
I mean, I've been dragged through water at a high rate, and I know which parts of my face left were no longer under my control.
Mm-hmm. So, apparently, the DP of BVS and Suicide Squad, not the DP, the photographer, not the DP, photographer Clay Enos, it's gotten under his skin the way fans keep demanding things. He said on Vero in a comment, "I don't pay much attention to the way other directors are treated, but it does seem odd to constantly and often in all caps be asking for a trailer just so folks can mine it for screenshots and potential speculative spoilers. My brother doesn't even watch trailers for fear of changing his impression of the film. And since when was it even considered polite to repeatedly demand such things far ahead of a schedule set by the studio? All of this seems symptomatic of a culture spoiled by access and resultantly unsatisfied with the abundance all around them. Perhaps everyone needs to reset their expectations and sit with their impatience and excitement. That reflection may be hard, but it will surely be revelatory. My 2 cents." So apparently he just does not like the fact that Zack Snyder is getting harassed by fans for the trailer for Justice League. And
I kind of I just
Yeah.
Leave him the hell alone, man. Let him make a film.
Yeah, I part of me agrees with you completely.
These people are working 18, 20-hour days sometimes. Just let them make the damn film.
Absolutely. Another part of me is like, dude, Clay Enos, chill out, man. We're all just excited for the shit that's coming, you know?
I know, but he's also like protecting the people he works with. And there's some loyalty there that I can respect.
Yeah, but you know, I have a weird feeling. I have weird feelings with Clay Enos. Just because, like, he pretty much almost exclusively uploads stuff to Vero.
Sure.
And he's like,
it's a trend they're doing there.
Yeah, he's like, this is a pure ad-free thing, and we don't, like, he just seems very socialistic a lot of times. That bothers me. Mm-hmm. Like, he just hates everything that has anything to do with capitalism. I'm like, why are you even in an industry? I don't know his politics. I don't know what he feels. But he just seems like he's a pretentious douchebag sometimes. I like his photography. He does really pretty work.
No, man has great shots.
And about half of the time, I really agree with him. Like, fully, like, yeah, tell him, Clay. And then the other half of the time, I'm like, dude, get off your horse, man. So, I don't know. I'm like, I think it's just, I feel like he's probably, with as much negativity as coming toward all of this DCEU stuff, maybe he shouldn't be mad that people are so excited to see the Justice League stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Depends on the context
maybe
there.
He should be thankful.
Depends on the context.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, you know, you can turn off your phone. Zack Snyder can turn off his phone or delete Twitter for a minute.
Would you be surprised if it was like a requirement that he keep his phone on all times?
I'm sure that's the case, but I'm sure he could also delete Twitter and then just, like, re-download it and upload whatever he wants to. He doesn't use it that often. None of these cats use Twitter that often.
Yeah.
Especially since they're on Vero. Like, Snyder and Clay Enos are on Vero, and that's pretty much the way they exclusively unleash stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's weird how that's all getting contractual now. Like, oh, this is the platform you should use. We're gonna hang out over here. Join us.
I'm not sure that's contractual. I think Zack Snyder and Clay Enos decided to be pretentious together with Vero.
I'd like to know the backstory on that. I would.
Like, I follow Clay
to flip
Enos.
A coin to see.
We follow Clay Enos on Twitter, and most of his tweets that I've seen are him telling people to go to Vero because it's the only true social media experience.
Of course.
And I'm like, do you have stock in this shit, man? What's up?
There's something going on there. There just is.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Of course, I wouldn't take filthy lucre for, you know.
There's something up there. We just don't know what the details
Maybe
are.
I'm wrong. I really don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just joking around. If somebody wants to get mad at me, including Clay Enos, if he happens to listen to this, I doubt it. I'm not chomping at the bit for a Justice League trailer, though, really. I'm kind of good with what we got. One of the things I liked about the Wonder Woman trailer is that they didn't really show much else that we've... I mean, you know, they kind of...
No, it was enough. It was enough to give me a different angle and enough to get me excited.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
They did not.
That's
they
all
did
I
not
want.
pull a beef.
You've got a few trailers before a movie comes out. All I want is in each trailer to show me a different, small aspect of what you're supposed to expect. And they didn't pull a
BVS. They didn't pull a BVS trailer 2 on me.
No, they didn't. I still don't know exactly the entire plot of the movie.
Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah. Moving on though, CinemaCon. This is trade show that happens in Las Vegas, where all the movie studios put on big presentations for the movie theater owners that they have. And last year, the Suicide Squad, the entire cast showed up. Now there's this guy named Jeff Snyder. He's an industry reporter, and he went on Twitter and he said that Ben Affleck will be at CinemaCon to promote Justice League. And the speculation is that the whole cast will probably be there. If Ben is going to be there, everyone else will be there. I don't know. But it takes place March 27th through the 30th of this year. And Warner Brothers is going to be scheduled to present on Wednesday, March 29th. So I guess we should expect some things around the end of the month. about Justice League.
Yeah, we got a couple weeks.
Badoop, badoop.
Badoop, badoop.
So,
common stuff.
As normal, as we try to do anyway, we don't always succeed. I'm going to try to wade through some of the issues, some of the clickbait here, to get to the heart of what's going on with Joe Manganiello, talking about the Batman. Robert Irvine magazine put out an interview, pretty extensive interview. He had some stuff to say about Batman. This is what he said. This was about 6 days ago as of this recording. He said, last year I said May, and that was my understanding. It depends. He's all talking about when it's coming out. They have big plans for this movie. Whether or not we start exactly on that date or in June, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. The creative process needs to be respected, and no one involved in this film wants to make anything less than an unbelievable film, a legendary film. The movie will start shooting whenever those pieces are in place, and we know this is going to be something that we're proud of. What we're not going to do is be backed into a start date, scrambling to get something off the ground just to get it off the ground. Everyone involved wants to make this the best film possible. So that's really what it's about. It's funny how the media likes to run with, oh, there's trouble. Oh, the script needs to be revised. They're drama queens. There's a creative process, and everyone on the cast and crew wants to make this the best movie possible. So that's what we're going to do. When we start shooting it, we'll start shooting it. It will be soon, I can say that. Here's the thing. No one wants to create that superhero movie that's polarizing to fans and critics. Rest assured, we're going to do this thing right. Now, Jet.
I like his take there.
Right. Jet on Batman on Film tweeted to Matthew Tuthill, the guy that posted the article, and said, is it possible for you to disclose when your interview with Mr. Manganiello took place? Thank you. Matthew Tuthill responded, before Affleck stepped down as director and Reeves came on, but I have no reason to think he'd take any of it back. So there's a lot of clickbait going on about this article. A lot of stuff saying like, and by the way, he does talk about, training with katanas and stuff, but we've talked about all that before on the show.
Sure.
We know they're training.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there. So we're not going to really talk about that. Who cares? I mean, it's awesome. Great. Glad that they're training for the thing that's going to require training.
Yeah.
Yay.
He's doing the work. No big deal.
But there's a lot of other people saying like, Joe Manganiello says that, Batman fans are drama queens. No, he says the media are drama queens.
Yeah.
Specifically, that the media are drama queens.
It seems like he was specifically addressing, I don't know, the cycle, the news cycle.
Mm-hmm. And there's, and moving on to some degree, he also said in the same interview that he's not going to be watching Arrow, and people have changed that into a clickbait thing. Like, oh man, he's disrespecting the what's come before.
No, that's not disrespect at all. People want to come at something from their perspective.
This is what he said, because they talked about him being in a live action film before, and it's his first time being in a live action film as Deathstroke or the first time Deathstroke has been in a live action film. Joe says, yeah, I guess there was a TV show, but I haven't seen it. He doesn't even specifically mention Arrow. He says, I guess there was a TV show, but I haven't seen it. I won't watch it. This is my character. And it's an exciting one and has the capacity, I think, to be a great villain. And what all the great ones can do is polarize an audience. When I was a kid, I always rooted for the villain. As a kid, I think I would have rooted for him, and I think fans will. And I don't think that's a negative thing. I don't think he's, crapping on Manu Bennett.
Not at
who
all.
was also really good and really underutilized on Arrow, and they took it in a bad direction that I didn't care for with Deathstroke.
And in a lot of ways, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, they held up some of the Deathstroke tenets, no doubt. But
I don't remember seeing David Tennant. Womp womp.
But it's okay for an actor not to want to see previous iterations of his character. That's just okay. Right? It's not a slight.
Yeah.
That just means you want to do it your way. You want to read we have sources here. We have years of comic books to go back and refer to and find your inspiration and find who you want to be. There's no need to go back and watch some show.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Sorry. To be fair, if I was directing a Batman movie and I had the Joker in it, I would tell them to do Hamill.
You want him to go back and listen to Hamill?
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's certain things, like, I would be like, hey, let's, like, make it a little darker. Because Hamill's talked about, like, several times, they've kind of pulled him back and said, hey, let's do a little lighter version of that. Because it's a kid's show. And then, like, later when they did, Return of the Joker, he was doing that. And they were like, hey, let's, like, bring it down and make it more gritty. And he was like, oh, okay, finally. But I would go toward the darker version. And, I would, cast Alan Tudyk because I can't not.
Sure. I would be kind of tempted to cast someone and just demand they never watch anything Mark Hamill did and just see what happened.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be willing to, like, crawl back from that and go, oh, that went badly. Never mind. Let's not do any of that.
It's weird.
But I'd be curious.
So, yeah. That's the reason I'm not directing a movie. Patrick Wilson was on Twitter. He did a Q&A. He referred to his role as Orm in Aquaman as Silver Boobs McGee.
Oh, lovely.
Someone asked how was work with Amber Heard. He said the read-through was fun. She's going to be fantastic. One person said, can you describe Jason Momoa in 3 words? He says, large and in charge.
Nice.
Which I guess is 4, really, but whatever.
I'll give him the end. They
asked who would win in a fight, Night Owl or Orm. He said, hard to tell. Give me a few months. With his 8-year anniversary this month, God, does seem that long. It does not seem that long. What did you love about making Watchmen? And do you have a favorite memory? He says, taking my son to a photo shoot and wondering what the hell he thought of all of Daddy's friends in costumes.
All right, fair enough.
When asked, how does it feel like to be back in the comic book universe? He says, perfect. Would Night Owl enjoy Batman's company? Patrick says he would ask dating tips.
Nice.
How much work do you have to put in to get ready to play Ocean Master? A lot of work, a lot of food, a lot of shakes, a lot of time. Will you ever try for the New York Marathon again? Patrick says, I'm sure I will at some point, but running is completely counterproductive to Aquaman training.
Yeah, no, it's not the same body type.
Yeah. Have you met Black Manta yet? And is Aquaman the only DCEU film we'll see you in? Love your work, by the way. He says, meaning I've met Black Manta.
Nice.
So I guess someone has been cast.
Yep.
Do you talk to fish? Right before I eat them, he says. Do you like Henry Cavill? He says, don't know him, but my wife played his mom. I don't know who his wife is.
I don't either. We should probably look into that, but that's great.
Probably look into that, yeah. That would have been a good call to do before the show, but I'm not a professional.
We pride ourselves on that.
You do. I beat myself up for days.
All right. I like to think it transfers over.
Okay, I can't even say her name. Dagmara Dominsinzik.
Now that's something we can agree on. We can't say names.
Moving on. So lastly, for the DCEU news episode, there were some weird DCEU leaks, and they're not like specifically spoiler centric or anything. And I'm gonna run through these because they're mostly positive. They showed up on 4chan, so they should obviously just be taken with a huge grain of salt.
I mean, lick a block of salt.
Mm-hmm. But this is what they had to say. The budget for Wonder Woman is $125 million. The studio is very pleased with how the film turned out, and early discussions for a potential sequel have been discussed. The Justice League trailer will debut in April and will be attached to Fate of the Furious. The plan is also to release a scene from Justice League in front of King Arthur, similar to how the Dark Knight trilogy marketed their films. Dr. Stephen Shin will appear in Aquaman. The studio is currently searching for actors for the role. Brainiac will be the main villain of Man of Steel 2. The story is written by Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder. The plan is to place the film on the November 1st, 2019 release date. Although Doug Liman is attached to direct Justice League Dark, the film is not considered a priority. Gotham City Sirens is being targeted for February 2019, and The Flash has been pushed back to 2020. Ooh. That's all, these are leaks from 4chan, and should in no way be taken seriously.
No.
Rumor mill, guys. Rumor mill.
Yeah.
Sometimes these have come out to be really accurate, and sometimes it's just, some...
It's 4chan.
guy with one hand on his dick trying to figure out how to fill his night.
Yeah.
Now we have a giveaway thing going on. If you give us a 5-star, or at least a positive written review on iTunes or Stitcher, we will enter you into a contest that makes you eligible to win. We choose by random number generator. 1 in 10 will win a $15 trade paperback. That's a graphic novel, DVD or Blu-ray on Amazon. You just let us know what you want when we do the random number generator. We have one review from the Feej, I guess, FFEJ is how you say that.
Sure.
Never actually heard it, but there you go. He's a longtime fan of ours. He finally wrote us a review. He said, "Woo, what is there to say? It's DC, it's Dave, it's Jason, it's awesome."
Concise.
Thanks for the effort, buddy.
And thank you.
Thank you very much, buddy. And you were entered into the into the giveaway. We need 2 more to round out this giveaway. 1 in 10 win. And I think that's it, except for our Logan review. We are DC on Screen. We are also going to have a DC TV news episode coming up directly. You can find every episode at dconscreen.com. You can find us on Stitcher and iTunes, importantly. That's what the overwhelming majority of you seem to have. And we're proud members of the Giant Size Team Up Network, giantsizeteamup.com. We're proud members of the Batman Podcast Network. And, gosh, I guess we're going to let you guys go. We're going to play the music here, which is probably already playing. And then we're going to talk about Logan after Jason Pease. So, until then, guys, keep some DC on your screen. Alright, so, Jason has peed.
It was glorious.
As have I. And, we're going to talk about Logan for just a minute. Or 20. You know, who knows with us. But, we saw this thing.
We can't do anything for 60 seconds. Come on.
I know. It was me, it was you, and it was my girlfriend Bethany. We all went to go see Logan.
My wife wanted to come.
Wednesday.
She had migraines. Or
Right.
She has migraines in general. And couldn't make it.
So, I know at some point, with tears in my eyes, because this is going to be a spoiler-filled review here.
Yeah,
Quickly.
just click right ahead to the next episode if you haven't actually seen the movie.
All right. With tears in my eyes, I looked over, and Bethany had tears in her eyes, and then I looked to my right, and you're on the other side of me, and you had tears in your eyes, and I thought, all right, well, we're all just a bunch of crying people.
Which moment?
No shame.
Which moment?
That would have been around the point where X-23 starts referring to Logan as Daddy, and he is shuffling off the mortal coil.
Yeah.
I seem to recall a similar experience with Xavier's demise. Basically, no one makes it out of this damn thing.
No. I the way I described it later was like, well, Patrick Stewart dies.
Right?
And, the way you describe that is like, well, I don't care who Patrick Stewart's playing. Patrick Stewart dies, so you're going to cry. I mean, he's going to make you cry.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, it's a little wasted in the sense that it doesn't have this, like, huge build-up. But it kind of does. Like, it has this moment. We're into spoilers now. Fuck you if you weren't paying attention before. Sorry.
There's that class.
Yeah.
There's that class we were talking about
That's
earlier.
What we do. He's talking about it before, like right before he has his moment of mortal wounding. He's talking about like Westchester, and this is the greatest night I've ever had. This greatest night I've had in as long as I can remember, but I don't really deserve it, do I? And you get the sense that there was this huge thing that happened, and the producers have come out and said, no, seriously, there was a huge thing that happened, and like most of the ex-students were either injured or killed. Like, it was bad. And you get a real sense of what happens when the greatest mind and most powerful mind on the planet starts to lose control of itself. Mm-hmm. And it's a great concept, and they played it well, and Patrick Stewart does this phenomenal job of talking about how he enjoyed this evening and he didn't deserve this night. And then this Logan clone kind of comes in and kills him. So it like, in a way, it's a little anticlimactic because it's not like Magneto gets him in the end or something. It's some clone, some bastardization of something that was in his life finally is the one who gets him. In a bed, in a borrowed bed, in some place that he wasn't even meant to be. And and that part feels like it's not, I don't know, that part feels like it doesn't live up to the legend of like Charles Xavier, but it kind of does. Yeah. And it
that's the thing.
Gets you to the point though where you finally the one of the lines that really got me was when it is Logan that comes in and says, "Charles, it wasn't me." Mm-hmm. That started breaking me a little.
But when the clone came in, he was talking to him like he thought it was Logan.
Yeah,
but earlier in the film,
I think.
Well, earlier in the film, he said, "I always know it's you, even when I don't recognize you."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God, such a beautiful, poignant thing. I think, and I guess I'm gonna have to spoil Star Trek Generations for you, but you know what? It was 1994, so if you haven't seen that, screw you. You're
can only be responsible for so much.
But the same argument is said of Kirk. When he bites it, as he saves like something like 2 million people on a planet that we never see in the movie. We never get to see these people. We never get to know them. We don't care about them. So, the critical argument is, how dare they kill the most legendary captain in Starfleet, the great James T. Kirk? How dare they snuff him out? Having a bridge, like having him on top of a bridge in between a couple of mountains. It falls on him. He dies saving a bunch of people we never even saw. He should have died on the bridge of a ship. There should have been more build-up. There should have been more climax. It should have been, bigger. It should have been greater. And I completely disagree. I've always so disagreed with that. Because I love the way Kirk bought it. Because it spoke to everything that was Kirk. Like, he loved the adventure. He's in the Nexus. He tells Picard, Patrick Stewart. He says, it sounds like a terrible plan. It sounds like a terrible thing for us to do. I can't remember the actual phrasing. But he says Spock would say that this is a logical thing. Sounds like fun. And he goes and he saves an entire world of people that he never met, because that is exactly what Captain Kirk would have done.
Yeah.
And he takes it in stride even to his last breath. Xavier is all about family. Xavier, the eternal optimist, was always...
And they've played that over and over again, especially in his tenure with Ian McKellen. They have played that he is the guy who believes this will work out. We just have to be hopeful.
So Xavier, the ultimate optimist, the eternal optimist, was absolutely fated to get snuffed out in a borrowed bed after what could be the best night of his entire life, or the best night he's had in a long time.
It's one of those moments that really strikes you, though. He has this, Logan doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to have that. He just wants to keep traveling, and he demands on practical grounds, she's 11 and I'm 97. We should probably take a okay. He demands practically we should probably have a freaking meal and a nap. Great, but realistically though, it's just he gets to connect with some people. It's just a pleasant evening in a safe place. And that's something he hasn't experienced in longer than he can remember. And I mean, literally can remember. It's his mind is going. He doesn't remember the good days and the bad days anymore in any kind of linear form. He doesn't remember anything that maybe happened with Magneto in any form that would make sense. He just remembers when there was a good or a bad day. And to his knowledge, he had a good day. And I like him going out that way. And I like him at least getting to know that Logan, who of all people, it's one of the sweetest things about the film is that of all people, Logan, this vagabond that he brings into the family, this person who should be kicked out over and over again, is the person that he ends up relying on in his latter stages.
Yeah.
It's
and I like that it's his faith in Logan and his faith that, they can stay for the night. It's Xavier's faith that kills him.
Yeah, I mean, he probably could have made it out if he hadn't done exactly what he did.
Dark take. If he was a little more Magneto, he could have made it out.
Probably would have made it, yeah. But we live in a world where we still believe, Magneto snapping at Pyro, saying Xavier has done more for mutant kind than anyone who's ever walked the other. We live in a world where we still believe that, and it's true. And we remember Xavier being ripped apart molecule for molecule.
Which, by the way, that was one of my favorite things from those movies is Magneto snapping on Pyro, being like, dude, we are at odds, but you show some freaking respect for that man.
You will never do anything to even approach what he's done for mutant kind. Go fuck yourself. You can start fires. Go fuck yourself.
You're a human lighter.
Yeah. Good for you. And Magneto's face when he sits there, he watches Xavier just disintegrate, and Jean Grey's as a point of her will. I mean, we're to the Phoenix point of things. Their relationship was amazing, but to get back to this point though, where it has just somehow boiled down to this miscreant he brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And him, and then Caliban of all people, somebody that was apparently helping to hunt down mutants and just decided it was the wrong thing. I kind of wish there was an extra couple seconds of dialogue for him just to describe why he thought it was the wrong thing, but apparently he decided he was on the wrong side of things and wanted to help protect Xavier. And I'm not sure what the end game was for him. And that's kind of one of the I'd like another minute on that for the film.
Yeah. One of the things that has annoyed me is I read an article with James Mangold where he admitted that he's I didn't know they were going to do Caliban in X-Men Apocalypse. And it was a different actor and kind of a different take on the character. And I kind of just didn't care. And I was like, nope, I want my actor and I want this version of him.
And it worked.
And Fox was just like, all right.
You should have changed the actors. They weren't so far apart that I couldn't believe them.
Yeah.
And the takes on them weren't so far apart that I couldn't believe that there was some evolution of that character. It wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't weird. It worked. Apparently, it was accidental, but it did work.
Yeah, it was 20 years, but for me, it just we're talking about 20 years being first Caliban's kind of this young guy who's kind of a smarmy piece of crap.
Yeah.
Who refers to himself in the third person. Then we jump to 2029, which may or may not be an alternate reality. James Mangold says no. Other people say it is an alternate reality because they would like to keep making money.
Right. But you have to say no now because right now Hugh and Patrick, they're out.
They're out.
Audi 5000, man. But they're done.
I could see Caliban turning into Stephen Merchant. And let's be honest, I watched X-Men Apocalypse before Logan, and I wanted to kill myself a little bit.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, you say that.
It was standard.
It was so standard that I was just... if it had been bad, super bad, I would have been way more entertained.
We're not looking for Sharknado, man. It was a standard...
we got pretty close to Sharknado a couple of times, and it was again one of those Bryan Singer things. It's a Bryan Singer problem. I loved The Usual Suspects, and after that, every Bryan Singer film I've seen, I've just been like, damn it, man, please end this thing. I'm so tired. I don't want to watch it anymore. It's I just become like a kid, with his mother in a department store. I'm on the ground and I'm just wallowing around going, this is awful. I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. I don't care. That's great. I'm glad that you found a way to make McAvoy bald. That was the climax of the film. The climax of Apocalypse was that Xavier became bald. That's what we were all looking forward to.
That's what we got, yeah.
Logan, though.
There was a good story for a couple of characters in Apocalypse, but what Logan got to, and this is my main takeaway from Logan. Mm-hmm. This was a character film. It was a character film that was like intercut with a lot of really fun violence, and
yeah.
I mean, it went from being like it was a fun film, like as far as it kept me entertained, as far as the violence, the action, all that was there, but it was just a piece about a few characters that we wanted to know more about, and I felt like if it was his last time being there, we got the most out of Logan that we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And the same for like Xavier. I feel like we've gotten a lot of him in previous films. I mean, anywhere from like First Class to even like Last Stand did a lot for him. We've gotten a lot of the Xavier character, but this one, it provided a lot of meat. I mean, that whole thing going back to the Shane Western, that was intense. I mean, when it really came down to it, that was intense. And I felt like we got more meat out of some of the characters that we've been hanging out with for, like 16, 17 years now. Mm-hmm. I mean, these people have been around since I was in high school. And I was so sad to see him go. And it was for the right reasons. Like, you finally have Patrick Stewart die. And I say Patrick Stewart die because it's a Patrick Stewart death scene. And how do you not? I mean, that's just, oh. It's rough.
Yeah.
And it was rough, and it was worth it, and there was something that happened around it, and it was fantastic. But then you get to Logan's death scene, and like you had to tell me later what the hell the girl was saying. I didn't know. All I knew was like I was watching the scene and was like really taken up by it, and was just like thinking about my history with this character, and I was just I was distraught. And then
we're outside in the theater. We're outside in the lobby after the picture, and Jason's like, "What was the girl saying?" And I was like, "Oh man, it was the thing from Shane, like where he was talking about like how a brand isn't good or evil. It just sticks with you, and just go back and tell them there are no more guns here and all that." I mean, I guess I'm telling him, like, I'm getting choked up. Jason's like, I'm seeing like the tears well up in Jason's eyes. I was just telling him what he was saying.
I was like having another round of shit.
Yeah, like, it's the note. There are no more guns here. That got me.
Understand what she was saying when I was doing, and I do that sometimes. I do that a lot of times. I will hear what people are saying. It's the whole thing of how to listen to music. I hear music first, and then I have to go back and hear the melody, and then I have to go back and actually understand what the lyrics are. It's a whole thing, but I
hear it reverse. I gotta hear the lyrics first and get angry,
and then go back
the vapid nature of it.
But like that's how I operate. And for some reason, when she was talking, I didn't understand what she was saying. But I was also so taken up by like the emotion of the moment, and even without understanding what she was saying, which ended up being slightly compartmentalized, because when you told me about it, I kind of wanted to go have a little cry and think, oh shit, that came back around. It was fantastic. That's so good. Yeah. But the part where like if you thought you were going to make it out of this movie, if you enjoyed this movie and thought you were going to make it out of this movie without crying or without feeling something, the moment where they take the cross, or where she comes back and everyone's leaving and they're going to go to Valhalla for mutant children, the moment that really I just went ahead and shed one more good damn tear. Like she just takes the cross and turns it just that 45 degrees and puts it back down as an X. And it has everything to do with the, like, good and bad's a brand, and you can't change your brand. And
yeah.
I saw her put that X over his fucking grave and thought, oh shit. And
I tell you what,
throat tightened, the whole thing, man.
The fact that now, I mean, there are some theories out there, and there's some pretty cool theories that like maybe like some of the X-Men didn't die, and they were the ones that were like over on the other side of that line talking to Richter over the intercom.
I'm hoping so. I really am. That sounds
ham
good.
Radio. They're like, oh, it was probably Cyclops or something. Rogue,
somebody,
maybe
anything.
and I'm down with that idea. I love, and that makes sense with, like, whoever's making these X-Men comics. Maybe they're putting in secret messages, secret things saying, "Hey, come here, and this is where Eden is." I like all that. I like that the X-Men became commercialized, and that Logan's so pissed off about it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like the
some of
most
this
about
happened,
it
but
is,
not like this kind of deal.
yeah, and the thing that I like the most about it is those kids are us. As Wolverine breathes his last, there's a kid standing there with a freaking Wolverine action figure.
Yeah. I mean, the kid with the electricity powers is like sitting there, like he's clutching a Wolverine action figure around this. Oh, it was rough, man. It was absolutely rough. Like, these kids respect the previous generation, and I kind of love the idea that there's going to be this new generation of them. Yeah. As artificial as they apparently were, like the meta gene is still out there.
And I say, if they're gonna keep on with X-Men movies, don't recast them. Don't recast Logan. Jump ahead of the future if you must. Have her as Wolverine as she is in the comics.
No, she did a fantastic job.
I'm not saying she did. She absolutely did.
Absolutely did a great job.
But give it some time after Logan before you go recasting, because people are going to hate whoever you cast, because no one's Hugh Jackman.
No. No.
Give it some time. Let her be Wolverine for a minute, and plus you need some more female warriors out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I was I was a little bored by some of the chase sequences, and you know how you do the thing where you just get bored when you have to pee. You're like a little bit just like, yeah, whatever, just finish.
It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. Make this thing in.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, man. I was more bored by it at the end. When we watched it than I was later. And by this point, like, I remember it reverently. The more I've thought about the film,
it really was. It was a good film. I think it did. I've heard the phrase tossed around, but I really do. I think it transcended the genre. I think it did something that this genre of superhero movies hasn't done.
And I think the brilliant part about it is what Fox has done here is they did an R-rated comedy action movie with Deadpool. And then they turned around and did the exact opposite on the opposite end of the spectrum, made an R-rated drama.
Character-driven
had a couple
drama.
of funny bits. Even Deadpool had some was really character-driven.
Oh, it had some great character moments, but it definitely was. It was always going to be. It was a movie that you could trust was going to throw you a joke every now and then. With Logan, I mean, if you got a joke here and there, that was cool. But you were invested in these characters, and that was okay. I expected nothing less. I wasn't like worried halfway through the film. Like, oh, am I going to get enough jokes? And there's nothing like that.
One shouldn't forget that in between those two was X-Men Apocalypse, which was, by comparison to those two, garbage. When you don't look at those other two, you go, oh, it was a mediocre X-Men film. It was fine.
As it was fine X-Men film. But when you look at it like compared to those two, it's a little unfair almost. It's not on the same camp.
I don't think it's unfair. It's not unfair because no one said, okay, well, you guys have to be a mediocre X-Men film. No, they had every opportunity to be a great X-Men film, and they were just like, nope, let's screw all the canon and just be weird and uninteresting.
Yeah.
Largely uninteresting. There was a few bright spots, but nothing that, came close to Logan or Deadpool.
No.
Yeah, so here was the thing that really got to me, though, in retrospect, looking back. Someone posted a bit from The Wolverine, the previous feature, which was, I would say, about 75% good, and the last, Viper was awful, and that weird Silver Samurai thing at the end was awful. But there's a bit where the girl that goes on to be, and we'll tie it back to DC here, the girl that goes on to be Katana in the Arrow series.
Yay, we're still our show.
Yeah, she in the Wolverine, she has the ability to see the deaths of people, and she tells Wolverine in that movie, she tells him, I see you laying on your back, covered in blood, holding your own heart in your hands, and you're like, what the hell? That's a messed up death. But then when you look at it in Logan, he's laying on his back, he's covered in blood, and he's holding X-23's hand. I read that shit and I started crying.
Oh God, yeah. I was crying in the theater because I mean we're talking about
James
Logan
Mangold
here.
He confirmed it. He confirmed that that was his plan. That he, and I don't know if it was or not.
At the very least, he worked it in very well.
And honestly, I didn't remember that from the Wolverine. I saw it online and then remembered her saying
no,
it.
I mean, I had no recollection nearly as clear of that. What I did recognize, like watching Logan outside of that, was Charles talks about how important a family is, and like you still have time, Logan, and all that stuff. It's a theme they lay down over and over again throughout the movie, and then there's this like one moment right before that last gasp where he looks at her and he smiles and he kind of mentions like this is what Charles said it would be like. Like
no. He said so that's what it's like, because this caused a controversy online. People are arguing maybe he's talking about death, maybe he's talking about all these different things, and very few people are saying what I think it is. He's talking about family.
No,
he's talking about this is what it's like to care about somebody.
That's I if I'm wrong, so help me, I will eat it. But I believe firmly that he was talking about this is what family would be like. Like he has that glimpse of it, and this little smile. Like you don't see that little smile on Logan in the entirety of his like character. Like how many years have we had this character, and you don't see exactly that smile on him at any given point?
You do. Like when he looks over and sees Bobby and Rogue together, he's like, all right. He's got that little bit he kind of saw Rogue as a daughter.
It's always more of a smirk. This is more of a genuine, this is more genuine than anything that we've seen out of him ever before, and then
you get close. Gone. I think importantly, I just don't want to undercut his and Rogue's relationship in this series, but
no, it was good and it was close. But it wasn't this. This was the climax of him understanding, for a character like him, of course. This is the climax of him understanding what it might be like to actually be that close to somebody.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of all. I think it was left a little ambiguous as to what he was talking about because it can mean multiple things.
It can, and that's fine, and I'm happy for people to interpret it however, but I believe, I don't know, I believe the most apt interpretation is the family angle.
Absolutely, that's my take on it. Oh my gosh, man, I can't I'm actually I'm angry that I can't buy it on Blu-ray right now.
And just go give it another view? It's a solid fucking movie. Just is.
It is. It's solid. It's really solid. I'm not even really angry because they set it up in X-Men Apocalypse with the XX Corporation. And I was thinking Mr. Sinister might be an issue here. We didn't really get any of that. We didn't really talk about that. And that was fine with me. I didn't really care. It was such a great character piece.
I think you're going to get him on Deadpool 2.
You think?
Yeah, that's the rumor I heard.
I don't even care. Whatever. I am not a huge fan of what Fox has done overall with the franchise, but that's a hell of a way to go out. And I think
this is a major exception to any of that. Yeah.
If I had any stake in or stock in it, aside from saying, "Hey, team up with Marvel and be in universe with those cats," I would say, look, if you're going to do it, if you're going to do any more, which they are, with the exception of Deadpool. Just do a reboot, and Deadpool could be privy to that because he's obviously privy to the Stewart and McAvoy differences.
Yeah,
Deadpool could operate in that zone. You can do as many freaking things as you want, and that could be a neat tie-in. But I would say reboot the thing. Let's not do any more McAvoy. Let's not do any more Fassbender. No more Jennifer Lawrence. They kind of want him out anyway, I think. And, maybe hook up with Marvel and see what you guys can do there with the tie-ins. Cast someone completely different. Of course, Jackman would be pissed, but whatever. He's had his swan song, and I love him, and I would hug him if I could. And thank him for a magnificent performance for 17 years, because, by God, he was the bright point of most of those years.
Yeah, at no point
in the franchise.
In all of the films that he's been involved with did you think he failed you. It was the movie that failed you.
I did it first.
Really?
But when they first put out the first cast picks back in 2000 or 99 or whatever it was, when they were like, "Hey, look at these are the X-Men," I was like, dude, Wolverine is way too scrawny. He's way too tall. What is this cat doing? This isn't Wolverine.
Well,
he sold me in that movie.
The film, yeah, you were fine.
Yeah, he sold me in that movie. You know, I was a little upset that he didn't sound like what was his name? Cal Dodd? Is that it? I want to say that's right.
Not sure.
Gosh, I was just talking to Bethany about this too. Yeah, Cal Dodd. You know, this is the cat from the X-Men animated series. It was like, tell Cyclops I made him a convertible, whatever it was. You know, I go where I want to go. You always did like picking on guys smaller than you. Well, I'm smaller than you. Try picking on me. Yeah, I remember a lot of those lines.
And I mean, yeah, I loved that series too. But I saw him doing this and thinking, I was just thinking, oh, good, cool. We've got our Logan. Let's do it.
Yeah. Going back and watching that series is so rough to watch. It's not like Batman the Animated Series where it's like, oh man, it holds up. Like X-Men the Animated Series is just like, oh, so bad. Why was it so bad? This one's for you, Morph. Anyway, I think that wraps it up for our Logan review. I dug it. I dug the hell out of it. I really did. I thought it was a fine thing. Yeah,
it's one of the, honest to God, it's one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Yeah, I've over the past week, I've routinely at times just kind of stopped, like kind of hit a moment in my head, like of memory, and just kind of broke down a little bit, like, oh no. And like shed a couple of tears and went, okay, dude, you got to pull it together because this ain't even real life. But it totally is, you know? Like, it's just, oh man. So yeah, if you guys made it all through this and you haven't watched it yet for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with you. Go watch it. I mean,
it'll still move you. I mean, we've spoiled it, but it'll still move you. It's still it can still do that.
Like in the theater we were at, we actually got a little taste of like the mainstream audience concept, like the lady in front of us, the couple in front of us, like the lady, like it just like, yeah, okay, death. Nobody makes it out of this thing. And then it goes to black, and she's just like, she throws up her arms like, are you serious?
What the hell?
And I'm like, yeah, baby.
I don't know what to tell you. You're on your own.
They made a trailer with Johnny Cash singing "Hurt." What did you think was going to happen?
What did you think? No one brings in "Hurt."
Like, and I seriously did. I walked in like I can't remember. I think it was just Chris White. I think I was talking to our buddy Chris White, longtime listener of the show, one of our first, if not our first. He may have been the first person to ever download the show.
God knows, it might be possible.
And he was like, you know, I mean, do you think anybody's gonna bite the dust in this thing? And I was like everybody? I can't imagine anyone making it out of this thing except for X-23. And I was right. And I was, you know, I mean, I was gonna be disappointed if like he had injected all of that shit into his arm, even though they said don't do it, and then it like restored him to his youth. I was gonna be like, that's a cop out.
Yeah, no.
Like, I don't think there was any way out of this without me.
No, they already said it was a limited time offer. It's just there was.
Yeah.
And I even loved how he sounds so exhausted in the last.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a lot of this film, he just sounds so. I mean, he's beaten. I mean, and anyone who's a sports guy or like who's been out and played sports, like you know a point, where you're playing well beyond your capacity.
Yeah.
You know that moment where you're in there and it's just pure willpower right now. Like it's nothing but Green Lantern bullshit. Like your legs were supposed to have gone a while back. You don't even know what your lungs are doing anymore, and you just may throw up at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there were just so many times in this film where I felt like he was at that point, and it was well documented. It was well done.
And by the way, there was some great humor in the film too. When they're talking about getting that boat on the ocean, and Stephen Merchant's like, "Yeah, I know about that. What do you think? I'm just going to be crawling around underneath, like beneath decks, like some sort of Nosferatu?"
Yeah, I was so happy to see Merchant involved in this thing, man. I love Stephen Merchant. He did a great job. He did a great job here.
He did. Went out valiantly, too.
Oh, went out like a champ. Be
But
afraid of the light or whatever.
Good flick. Anyway.
That's a lot of stinger for us.
Yeah, we're going to get over to the DC TV news, so if you guys want to, stick around for that. We'll talk about Gotham and Supergirl and some stuff. And The Flash, and I've got a theory on The Flash. That'll be our stinger for that episode. And hopefully it'll be kind of fun. I've got like for you fans of The Flash, who among you are not fans of The Flash? Come on. And until then, keep some DC on your screen. Again, I don't need to say that because it's a stinger, but here we go.
Keep some comics on your screen.